Hello, and this is my review of Ralph Breaks the Internet, the sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, which came out 6 years ago. And I rewatched the first Wreck-It Ralph a couple nights ago to get ready for this, and it holds up. I don't love it, but I think it's definitely got some good moments. I think it's got some fun characters, some fun set pieces. I think it's a totally enjoyable movie. There are better movies to watch, but there are also much worse. So I like Wreck-It Ralph, but I don't, oh my god, love it. And I think it has some pros and cons. So this movie is a step down, I think. And not just from the previous film, but from the standard that Disney has shown that they're able to provide. Now, I usually don't like to say bad things about Disney animated movies. Disney, they may be an evil corporation that owns half the effing world, but they make some pretty good movies, so it's probably a fair balance. We just give them all our money and undivided attention. And the thing about this movie, I was skeptical from the trailers, because I was curious. It seemed like they were really banking on solely the Disney princess scene alone, and I wondered how much of this movie is just going to be ads for Disney, or how much of it is going to feel like a real sequel, a real movie. Then reviews came in and they were pretty good, so I said, okay, I'll watch it. And, okay, so this movie has a lot of things that work. I think, so much of it focuses on the Ralph and Vanellope relationship. I'll get to the complexities of the relationship in a minute, but John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman are both really trying their best with this material, and a lot of the dialogue that they're given is good, and there's some funny jokes in here. There's some fun set pieces. The world building is visually stunning, although from a narrative perspective, the world does kind of fall apart a little bit. There are a couple of plot holes and things that don't quite add up in this movie. But I think the real problem with this film, and it has like great animation and like great sound design and all that stuff you would expect from Disney, but I think the real problem with this movie is a problem of tone. So for the first 2/3 of the movie, the film feels remarkably very low stakes. Like, there's not a whole lot. It feels like just a fun little adventure that Ralph and Vanellope are on. And, like, not much is going to be lost if they lose. And then the climax happens and the stakes ramp up very, very quickly. And then suddenly we get an ending where Disney does something that honestly shocked me. They go to a very mature place, which they've obviously done a lot before, but it ends on a note that is bittersweet. I'm going to repeat that. A Disney movie ends on a note that is bittersweet. Disney, the company that is so associated with the phrase happy ending, they end a movie in a way that's bittersweet. And I'm not going to act like I don't. In many ways, I admire that. Like, they had the balls to pull that off. In many ways, I'm like, come on, if we can't get happy endings from Disney movies, where can we get them? But I think my number one priority is, if you're gonna do this, do it right. Like, they want to have a really big emotional moment at the end of this movie. And it just doesn't feel earned. That's the number one problem. So much of the first 2/3 of this movie are just silly excuses for Ralph and Vanellope to go on silly adventures. And the relationship between the two of them, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because, okay, so Ralph is an adult. He's meant to be an adult. And Vanellope is meant to be a kid. And there are several elements of their relationship, particularly at the end, where the implication is that this is a surrogate father, surrogate daughter relationship. And yet, the movie, for some reason, is afraid to just... Sorry, my phone. but the movie is afraid to just flat out say that. Like, all throughout the film, Ralph and Vanellope keep saying that they're each other's best friend. And I don't know, maybe don't say best friend when you're a grown man who spends all day with a little girl. Like, I get that that was what the movie was going for, and I don't know why, because there's also a subplot with Felix and Calhoun adopting kids from Sugar Rush, so if you're gonna go that route, why not just flat out say, oh, Ralph adopted Vanellope, and now Vanellope is my daughter, and Ralph is my dad. Just do that, because that's what the relationship felt like, and it loosened the impact every time they kept saying best friend. But I don't know, I think it just... I admire the fact that there's no real villain in this movie, because Disney, recently they've gone on such a trend of, oh, we're going to put a bunch of villains in our... Not even villains, we're going to do fake-out villains, we're going to do twist villains, we're going to have a character that you thought was a good guy turn out to be a villain, and like, as soon as Gal Gadot came on screen, I'm like, she's going to be the villain, isn't she? And then she isn't. It's not her, it's not anyone. There is no villain. All the bad things that happen in this movie are the consequences of Ralph and Vanellope making mistakes, which is amazing. I just wish that the script wasn't written in such a way that the mistakes are like Ralph and Vanellope really should know better to do some of the things that they're doing, particularly Ralph at the beginning. But then as time goes on, Vanellope, it feels like she's shirting on her responsibilities as president of Sugar Rush, and then it just, like, Vanellope's side of the story, like, it just feels like there's a moment near the end where the movie wants you to take Vanellope's side, and I was much more on Ralph's side, but both characters were making mistakes, and not in a realistic way that fit with their characters. Like, at the beginning of this story, Ralph is totally fine and totally content with doing the same thing every day, and Vanellope is wanting for something more, something beyond Sugar Rush. And I almost feel like it should be the other way around, given their backstories from the first movie. Like Ralph was the one who was just... His job is getting pushed off the building every day. Vanellope is, like, out there having fun with being a racer. Like, why? I don't know. It just felt like when it got to what was the ending of the movie, it felt way too serious for what the movie was implying. It's funny because I have nothing against crying in Disney movies. I cry a lot at Disney movies, and I actually wanted to cry at the end of this, because it feels good to cry. It feels good to let your emotions out. And sometimes you build up a lot of stress, and when you get to cry at a sad movie, it feels good. But this, like, I was so close to crying, but then I just didn't. And I cry at a lot of stuff. I'm not a super tough guy. I'll admit that. I'm a crier. So I feel that the fact that the movie couldn't even get me to cry, it was obviously meant to be a big emotional moment. And John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman are clearly trying their best to make it an emotional moment. But it just didn't feel right because it didn't feel earned. If you want to do something that big and that dramatic and that emotional at the end of the movie, you have to properly build up to it. And it just didn't feel like they were building up to it. It just felt like a little small adventure where the stakes weren't high. And then all of a sudden, there was a definite change in the final act. And so, I don't know if I can really say I hate this movie, because it had some fun bits, and I liked the Disney princesses bit, and I liked a lot of the jokes, but it just... I feel for Disney, I expected more. And I don't love the first Wreck-It Ralph, but I like it enough, and I was really disappointed by this, because it just... Yeah, I feel like there were plot holes, a lot of stuff didn't make sense. I don't know who demanded this movie. I think it was just Rich Moore. Like, he really wanted to make it, and they're like, well, you did a good job on Zootopia, so we'll give you this. And now they're probably like, yeah, you're not getting a Ralph 3. You move on to Zootopia 2. Although, frankly, we want to make sure you have good story people with that one. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's a shame that Disney, they're usually so good at melding. They're usually so good at blending a childlike sense of wonder with adult themes and morals. And when they do that right, they can make some really amazing movies. But this, it just didn't work. I feel like the movie's like, kids, have fun. Here's Ralph and Vanellope having fun. Here's this scene. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. Oh, and by the way, parents, really serious, hardcore moral at the end. Okay, bye. And then it's like, parents are going to be thinking, what? That I'm not crying because I didn't feel earned. And kids are going to be thinking, Daddy, what was up with that ending bit? It didn't work. The tone wasn't right. Maybe kid would not be saying that, but you get what I mean. That's what I took away from this film. Okay, so that is my review, and I'll see you later. Bye.